Hi, it's October 30th of 2020, and welcome to another episode of Nothing Burgers. Let's jump right in because there's so much to talk about. I hope I can do it all justice. There's so much to talk about, like I don't even know where to start. The short version for today is that one woman has all the power in the world. We'll recap what's been going on in the news, and I'll try to give you a understanding of the financial system as it stands right now, the Nasara thing, and more about the families that run the world. Earlier in the week, the Senate had questions for the heads of Twitter, Facebook, and Google, which was more or less a shit show of these CEOs who look like zombies lying through their teeth. We all have seen an increase in censorship, and especially across these platforms. If you dig a little deeper, you'll find that they are, of course, entrenched with financial agreements and deals with China, communist China in some form. And then, as well, I know that I've seen some things, emails regarding Hunter Biden and Mark Zuckerberg making deals, trying to make corporations and things too. So that may come out, but that wasn't really the goal of the Senate hearings. It was mostly to question these guys regarding the censorship, and so we'll see what happens going forward. It is some provision number 230 that needs to be removed in order to hold these guys accountable for censorship. And of course, if they are in any kind of have any kind of accountability in the role of affecting or tampering with elections, election results, or influencing elections in that way, there's a lot of accountability there as well. And that is what is basically another issue that could come up out of all of this. Let's talk about China and the Biden situation right now. We all know the mainstream media is not covering all this information about Joe Biden being involved and implicated in doing deals with Communist China or CCP. I want to mention that China is the biggest breaker of this news. And I had an ex-boyfriend from Germany who told me straight up that the news we're getting is vastly different from what's being reported in other countries. And with access to the internet now and most TV stations having their information online, it opens up a whole new world to us that we should try to research. So while we're on this frame, let's look at this information. This is some of the lows that Joe will stoop to, and he is responsible for many, many deaths. He set up 36 CIA workers or employees. Can you imagine being called to a meeting by your vice president only to get shot on site by a bunch of CCP or other mafia members who are working with Joe? It's completely messed up, and all of that in the interest of him making money and trying not to be found out. These people will stop at nothing to cover their asses. The part I was unaware of was the pregnant woman part. I'd seen other various reports, similar information, but see, if you just corroborate and check around a few other sources, you get additional information and details just like this. And ever since I saw that video with Mr. Lude, I decided to, I checked in on his channel. And so at GTV.org is where they put up a lot of videos and news reports. And he is the part of there is still, a federalist China that's been battling the CCP since 1949. So I wanted to share with you, though, some of the things that they're saying and how they see things. I watched a very profound video. They've been dealing with the CCP for so long and all this oppression, and they're sick of it. And they know that the United States is largely unaware of how they operate or how big that they've become. And they know that our media is not telling us everything, and they've been used to these tactics. They've had to deal with this for the last several decades. So they know how that works. They know the playbook. And so that was some of their concerns. They can see that Donald Trump is doing good things, and yet our media is not reporting that. So they're very concerned about it, but it's a really interesting perspective, and it also kind of gives you a little bit of hope that people all over the world, us regular people, we just want our freedom back. We just want to live normal lives and not have tyranny and our freedom's taken away. And they're the same way. And so it's nice to know that they're feeling us a little bit and they're sympathizers for us, and as well it brings us to them. And so that's what people, even on a local scale, we need to realize this. Now, we all know the challenges. Just like they're watching us being suppressed with the news and information, we are seeing within our own communities the people that are dumbed down, the people that have not yet awakened or can see through the lies and the facade. So just like the Chinese being concerned about us finding out or knowing or being educated on what's really going on, we face the same challenges locally or in the United States as well. Common ground. We have a lot of common ground with the federalist people in China, are the ones that really want to fight to be free. And they're ready. If anything, my whole takeaway from what I'm learning is that the work is only beginning. So I saw this about Hunter yesterday. It's just information from and anon. There's also a couple other things floating around saying that Joe killed him or that he's dead, he overdosed. So I used to be a private investigator, and I have a really good knack for finding stuff for research. So that's just my gift. But when you read the first couple of lines here, Hunter Biden has turned himself into the FBI. Okay. It doesn't say when. It says he was personally interviewed this afternoon by Barr. Okay, so that could apply to the date that was given, which was the 28th. You know, you have to discern. He turned himself into the FBI, and just because he was interviewed today by Barr does not mean that he turned himself in that day. But it doesn't say when he turned himself in. Now, there were some Q drops that had been alluded to that show him wearing white. There was just some suggestions and drops that maybe he, saved his ass by turning himself in a long time ago. I personally think he's been in their custody for a while, according to Q Drop's pictures, and there was this big thing about the watch he was wearing on his wrist. There were pictures of that circulating long ago, and Q was asking the question, where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? And nobody knew what that was about. Let's just keep that in mind. I mean, we don't know everything. For the most part, just what's surfacing is photographs that could just be considered pornographic in nature. Other than the emails, there's nothing that indicate anything other than a perverted dude who likes his body and has a big piece and likes to have sex a lot and is a drug addict. So there's nothing beyond that we've seen yet, but it is said more will come out. So I guess we'll see. So we know that this weekend could be kind of volatile. It's a good idea to get your voting done early if you can. Also, if you haven't stocked up on some provisions, it's been seen by several sources that maybe there'll be some unrest this weekend or on the day or the day after of the election. So you'll want to be prepared for that. In this particular Q drop, it's even though it's from a couple years ago, there are a lot of things that were said in the past that were meant to be revealed in the future. And you may have heard the quote, "The future proves the past." So it's looking like they're talking about this weekend. There could be a lot of suicides and people realizing how much trouble they're in and dropping out of life. Also, today is supposed to be the last day that we'll get anything from Q, and I believe there was a drop earlier in the day. 2 days ago, a friend of mine sent me a video made by one of the archbishops of the Catholic Church, and in it he talks about a deep church, just like a deep state for politics. And with this deep church, he indicates it's been around for 60 years, that it is he does refer to the New World Order, and he does say some things about the Antichrist, and that it's the antithesis of Christianity. So that was very interesting. I'll provide a link for that. But as well, yesterday this letter comes out that he sent to the President of the United States. So it's very interesting. He's really calling on the President to be wise and make some good decisions here, should he be reelected. The church is coming out, so to speak. They've known about it for 60 years. There's been a total dark side of it running the show, and just like any mafia or secret family, secret society, you've got people doing some really bad things to keep the secrets and to stay in control. And that's essentially what's going on financially in our world right now. And I'm going to make a separate video, divide this up into 2 parts, because there's just so much to talk about. And with each of these taking me so long to make, it just makes sense to turn out this half now, and shortly I'll have another one. So stay tuned for part 2.